All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited to have our very own NCU alumni come back to present, Dr. Samantha Hegspeth. She is here today to drop some knowledge for us on self-care. My name is Emily Spranger. I'm an academic trainer in the Center for Teaching and Learning, and I am joined here today with my colleague, Esther Archange. And just a few brief reminders. This is being recorded and we will post it in our CTL webinar LibGuides page. We would love if you would have conversation in the chat. If you do want everyone to see what you have to say in the chat, make sure you select the drop-down option for everyone. And put your questions in the Q&A function of your Zoom. We will address those when time permits. And then just a little heads up, I did send you an email just moments ago to everyone who was registered. There is a PDF in there that Dr. Hegspeth plans to utilize in her presentation. I will also post it in the chat as well too in just a few short moments. So feel free to open that document up when Dr. Hegspeth invites you to, and we are excited to take some time and take care of ourselves today. So without further ado, I will pass this over to Dr. Hegspeth.
Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. As Emily said, I'm Dr. Samantha Hegspeth, and welcome to Self-Care. Don't feel guilty, you are worth it. In preparation for this discussion, as Emily alluded to, there is an attachment. She emailed it out to everyone. Also, she has put it in the chat. Please take a moment now to open that and then minimize it, because we will use that workbook as the slide goes along. I greatly appreciate your participation. So in this session, self-care is involving rethinking how we treat ourselves no matter what our age. And the self-care process involves analyzing how we allow others to treat us. We will take an honest look at ourselves to identify hindrances and roadblocks to being a new and improved you. Hopefully, the snapshot of my backstory will inspire you to re-engineer your future. Does life ever feel like a blur and you're completely exhausted? You work 8+ hours a day, and sometimes on the weekends. You are always encouraging others, but you have not started your book nor started your projects. You need to shop for a better mattress. And are you going to see the specialist about that lump? The pandemic, homework, kids, caring for aging parents, and one more Zoom. Most days you have not eaten and it's 4 o'clock. Oftentimes you feel that yes, oftentimes we do feel like we have crossed over into the twilight zone of uncertainty, chaos, confusion, and even hopelessness. With so much social unrest and injustices worldwide, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and even afraid. With the world in an uproar, it's easy to feel that whatever concerns us on a personal level can wait and that we are not that important. But that perspective is not necessarily true. Some of us were feeling that we were not important before the pandemic. An alternative explanation is that we sometimes are just existing in a recurring cycle of always putting ourselves last that is exacerbated by the pandemic. We may never want to face the truth that we never prioritize ourselves. For example, someone is thinking about dropping out of school, but you haven't taken the time to decide what you really want to major in. So you're kind of frustrated at this point. Or after all these years, you may now have anxiety and panic about your career possibly being at a dead end. but you have not taken any proactive steps to do research to see what else you want to do. With lots of love, dedication, obligation, and sometimes frustration, you service the needs and fill in the gaps of so many others. But what about you? While you are loving others, being loving, and duty-minded, don't forget to love yourself. As we have seen over the past year and a half, life happens without warning. So when will you pause to have a life? You must fight to rise from the ashes of this post-pandemic chaos, shake off the fear, and map your next moves. Like any good story, mine starts with once upon a time, there was a prince and a princess who fell in love. After a year or so, I quit college. We dated for a while, then got married. We had two beautiful daughters of whom we are very proud. Through the years, I still really desired to complete my undergraduate degree, but I was adulting now with a full-time job and lots of responsibilities. So my personal goals and ambitions were suppressed. I enjoyed going on all the field trips with my children when they were in school. And I've also enjoyed a really good full-time career in real estate. We enjoyed lots of family and friends always, and I do mean always. We always had someone or multiple people living with us transitioning to their next stop. We were always at capacity, but had so much fun along the way. The grill stayed hot. We had pool and ping pong tournaments in the basement almost every weekend. Unfortunately, multiple things took a turn for the worst within a 3-year span. The real estate market crashed. I was separated, headed for divorce, and my health took an unexpected spiral downward. Stress oozed from my pores. I had numerous surgeries on a multiplicity of medications and headed for more surgeries. It was stress, and more stress. I have even watched myself flatline. As a medicine given to me in the ER was administered to bring my heart rate to a complete stop so that it can restart at a normal rate. Once my heart stopped, my muscles reacted and pain streaked over my body as lightning across the sky, starting up from my legs, through my torso, through my face, and seems like out the top of my head. I went through that process 12 to 14 times over the span of a year. So the nurses in the local ER knew me very well. Stress, frustration, anxiety, and disappointment in myself surged like a tsunami. Often I ignored the signs and the symptoms that I was out of balance, and needed to sit on the charger and unplug from the matrix. Okay, so to analyze how I prioritized me and my time in the craziest period of my life, I have taken the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence and flipped them with an internal individual spin. The data points in this pie chart are how I personally scored myself in the areas of relationship management, social awareness, self-management, and self-awareness. From my own experience, I have defined the whole process of self-intelligence as the ability to understand, evaluate, control, and change you. And intelligence perspective looks at all of the pieces of a particular topic, gives you an overall understanding, but we will now take a look at the subtopics of self-intelligence individually. So this first category, relationship management, and you can see the percentages. I scored myself. That was 58%. I was very mindful to staying connected. And of course, if you have a marriage or a partner, you have children, family, friends, work colleagues, oftentimes just in our inherent cycle of day-to-day business, we stay connected. And then there are relationships that we purposefully reach out to stay connected. Then the next category is social awareness. This is how our home always stayed at capacity. We were always acutely aware of people in need and distress and always offering to help others. The next category is self-management. Those are the errands we run for ourselves to maintain ourselves, the haircuts, the running to the cleaners, organizing our desk, doctor's appointment, those type things. But I believe what was the most damaging was self-awareness. And we're going to talk about that piece of the pie a little more in the upcoming slides. And that addresses the stress, the mental health, physical health, and goals. I realized in my life, I neglected all of those. And I was really thrown out of balance. So let's break down self-awareness, that small piece of the pie where I had 9%. Daniel Goleman of Harvard University has done extensive work with emotional intelligence and speaks to emotional self-awareness. One, he bullets emotional self-awareness to mean having a deep understanding of one's emotions, strengths, weaknesses, needs, and drives. Two, he bullets as emotional self-awareness extends to a person's understanding of his or her values and goals. Tasha Eurich, an organizational psychologist, researcher, and New York Times bestseller, notes one general definition of self-awareness as the ability to monitor our inner world. Tasha did an extensive study and broke down self-awareness into two categories: self-awareness internal, which is what we are delving into today, how we see ourselves. Pretty much is the gist of it. In addition, she addresses in her research self-awareness external, and that is when we understand how others see us. While Tasha talks about these perspectives within the context of an organization, I believe the principles unearthed in her research have life application as well. So, beginning on the other side of that past leg of my journey, I believe self-awareness to be a combination of all of the expressions shared by Daniel Goleman and Tasha Eurich. Let's set our baseline of data for you, shall we? Please open your workbook and go to self-intelligence worksheet. It should be that first worksheet, and you should see this pie chart. You should definitely see that pie chart. And if you could go to each category, because let me tell you this exercise is not about how we measure up against a national average or any other demographic, but rather this is an exercise to provide a visual and help us to grasp the importance of taking better care of ourselves. So don't worry, you're not compared to anyone. No wrong answers. So please, hopefully, I see that it's about 65 of you. So please, I hope everyone's done with that, putting in their percentages. Now, if you are done with putting in your percentages, let's give someone just another minute, just in case. All right. So if you could please share, and of course that's totally is voluntary, but if you could in the chat, please put down the percentage that you put for relationship management. And Emily, when they're putting those in there, if you could read some of those off for us, please.
Yes, I absolutely can. A couple of the percentages I see: 15%, 10%, 55%.
Okay. And that was for what category? Because I know I called out relationship management. Did they put it in there for other categories as well?
Did anybody put it in for other categories? I see 20%, 5%, 50% relationship management.
Right, relationship management. So now I'm going to ask everyone if they could please put in their percentages for social awareness. That's you tying on your cape and running off to the rescue of other people. Social awareness. How aware are you of when other people need assistance? What are you seeing, Emily?
Social awareness, 30%, 45, 60, 75%, 60,
Mhm.
40, 75, 30.
Wow. Wow. I mean, and thank you. I applaud you all for helping others, but we're going to talk about that. And then self-management. Okay, in the chat, quickly, self-management. Give me your percentages.
Self-management.
Are you running those errands? Are you getting to those doctor's appointments?
10%, 10%, 5%. Someone did say 90, and I appreciate that. 10%, lots of 10%. Someone said
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh,
Okay.
good. You're taking care of yourself. You're checking the boxes. Okay. So that was great. I was glad to hear those percentages, and just hearing those percentages out loud. We can see that some of us are a bit balanced, and then some of us, we just need to tweak that area. So let's now it's time to take a deeper dive though into self-awareness, that smallest piece of the puzzle. So self-awareness requires self-reflection first. And hold on to your percentages, because I will get you to post those. Self-awareness requires self-reflection, just like I said, and that's facing your hindrances, aka roadblocks to better self-care. And warning, this process can be painful, but we are going to take the bull by the horns for our holistic approach to progress. So, how are you treating yourself? Let's take a look at these hindrances I faced in my crazy times. I think these were the main four categories. Once I went back and audited my life, these were the main four categories I did some work in, and I feel so much better. I crown myself as a much better person in self-care. So let's take a look at bullet number one, stress inducers. Um, Stress inducers, external sources of stress. These are just a few of inducers that I labeled for my life, and perhaps you can identify with some of them. Overworked, no vacations, project deadlines moved up, underappreciated, underpaid, hostile working environment, and this is a biggie to me, toxic relationships. Toxic relationships. So bullet two, mental health. I call these things internal termites. These are those thoughts that eat away and affect our self-image, self-esteem, configures awkward behaviors, and impacts how we interact with other people. And so one of those thoughts for me in particular, maybe I'm by myself, maybe I ain't, but the torment of perfectionism. You feel like your work is never good enough. Anybody experience that? I'm always doing it 1,000 times, and then maybe 1,000 times to check the 1,000 times. Double-mindedness. You can clearly see a good, sound decision on a matter. Then you think of something negative that may happen, and you end up like a deer in headlights, never pulling the trigger, thus plagued with procrastination. You could possibly be suffering from rejection, which can spawn an unhealthy self-image, low self-esteem, and a never-ending cycle of guilt tripping yourself about what you can do and can do well. And so bullet three, physical health, not driven, but you must try. I was guilty of no exercise or not enough exercise in that season. Very guilty of unhealthy diet, sedentary lifestyle, not seeing or following up with my medical professional or specialist with issues I knew I had going on, but I just didn't want to face them. I was telling myself I didn't have time. I could do that later. But we must regularly monitor our blood pressure, blood glucose, and cholesterol levels so that we can keep up, and on this side, above 6 feet above the ground with a better quality of lifestyle. And then the last bullet here, which you saw in one of the previous screens where I had not finished my undergraduate degree. And that thing really bothered me. It may not bother some people, but it really, really bothered me. And I felt like a complete failure, even though I had been very successful in so many areas of my life. Bullet 4 is about personal goals. Sometimes we can hinder ourselves with no commitment to any goal because we're so busy helping other people and being there for other relationships. What is it you'd really like to do? What would make you happy to wake up in the morning, hit the ground running? You can start that business, dedicate time to do the research. If you want that degree, you will be successful. Don't let those termites, influence you and you think that you can't do it. Do not listen to that voice. So, how are you allowing others to treat you? This is a part of your assessment. Sometimes we need to set boundaries in our lives, and it doesn't mean that we love people any less. That's not what it means, but it just means that we are trying to find a happy place for ourselves. And so, when I was in real estate, I used to audit my life of people, places, and things to take my business to the next level every year. And then I started applying it to my personal life once I saw that it was a success. But then I added on, it was people, places, and things. And then I added on personal behaviors so that I would be accountable. I added on, relationships. And so that audit over these years have helped me a great deal. We should always be mindful of how we are communicating with others to take accountability for the energy we are giving off first and foremost. If you know you have done your best to communicate well and in a respectful manner, but a particular person is always aggressive or toxic towards you, it's time you have a crucial conversation and get to the bottom of what is hindering clear and productive communication. Sometimes as people, we don't realize that we are talking in a certain way or demonstrating certain body language or even operating in avoidance, because sometimes it's actually something going on with us as people. So you want to give everyone an opportunity, to perhaps see themselves or to realize how they're treating you. Sometimes it's not intentional. And sometimes it is. Please consider, that some of these behaviors can be remediated. And once, especially if you bring to their attention, the interaction is toxic for you or not helpful for you. So it's up to you to get the air cleared for your wholeness journey. If they insist on being toxic, once you've had that crucial conversation, then you insist on letting them know politely it's not productive, and set the boundaries of what is and is not acceptable in the kindest way. Like I just said, audit your life for people, places, things, and your personal behaviors, because you have to have accountability in this as well. Audit your life of these categories and find out what is good for you and what is toxic. Nurture those things that will holistically build a stronger and better you, and draw up a plan where you can transform, or check this out, you can either transform or eliminate those people, places, things, and personal behaviors that are toxic for you. Over the years, I learned to eliminate bad habits and toxic people, and I'm better for it. And I actually, for me, that was relative or non-relative. I did not have boundaries on that because sometimes even the people closest to us can be the most toxic. So self-care requires you to care for yourself. Anna Taylor said, love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how you use it. You teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. Oh, this is one of my favorites, Dolly Parton. You all are familiar with the country singer. She said, we cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails. So you can't always control what's coming at you, but you can control how you interact, act, or do not act at all. That's very important. Remember, you have control. You do have some control. Brene Brown, talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. Stop being so hard on yourself. Oprah Winfrey, she said, breathe, let go, and remind yourself that this very moment is the only one you know you have for sure. So you must make the moment the best of it and not just say, oh, I'll do that for me later. Oh, I'll do that for me tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised. As we have all seen, there were people that were here with us in 2019 or even at the top of 2020 that have been, unfortunately, have passed on because of this pandemic. So this one moment that you have, make the best decision for you that you can. And our last quote is from Dr. Maya Angelou. She said, as you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself, the other for helping others. So the time for change is now. Do not continue to agree with situations and thinking that hinders you from being a better you. It is guaranteed that life will throw you lemons, hurdles, and challenges. It's up to you to transform your experiences into lemonade, overcoming, and accomplishments. Cut out some personal time in your schedule weekly, monthly, or maybe even daily that you can gather your thoughts while you're sitting on the charger. Your charger may be sitting alone in Starbucks for an hour 3 times a week and working on your business plan, or making sure you can read one chapter in that book you so love before going to bed. Only you know what is value added and time well spent to re-energize you. If you live with loved ones, you may even need to have a family meeting and explain how you are reordering some things and invite them to take the journey with you. Surely there is something they really want to do and need improvement on. Do not feel guilty about you breathing first, meaning cutting time out of your schedule for you. Take some time for yourself to reset and sit on the charger, as we mentioned in the previous slide. Do something for yourself that is vital to your wellness and future state sustainability on a regular basis, not just once a month or every 3 months or once a quarter. Try to find something to do on a regular basis for yourself, like breathing. The airlines have always instructed us to put our oxygen mask on first, then help others to put theirs on. And so in like manner, help yourself first, and you will be a lot healthier to help others. This message is not a call to selfishness. Please don't get it twisted. It's not a call to selfishness, but rather a call to balance and better sustainability. Post my crazy years, is when I realized that I was doing all that I could for others, but doing so little to help myself, and it became evident when my health crashed. So where is your North Star of self-care? A North Star meaning it would bring peace, enjoyment, a sense of accomplishment, and perhaps bring balance to your life. The North Star will reset your stressometer and be anecdotal to your episodes of burnout and panic attacks. In the chat, let's see, in the chat, if you could put down that last percentage of where your self-awareness was. For me, it was 9%. I did not, take care of my mental health, physical health, my goals, and I was just stressed out. Do you see some percentages coming up, Emily?
For self-awareness, yeah, we're looking at 5%, 10%, again, 10%, 7.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Emily.
Oh, yes, pretty much around the 10. I
Yeah.
think the highest was roughly 70%, I see. So
Oh, okay. We have someone very self-aware in our company. Kudos to you. But for those of us who are still striving to improve that area, there is hope. And we are going to do that by setting our boundaries, auditing our life of people, places, things, and personal behaviors. So let's look at the North Star self-care plan. That may be reading a book. For me, it was also practicing my faith and meditation, or at least for someone, it may be planning that small getaway with a loved one, or planning that picnic, even if it's just in the backyard during this pandemic. But living life to the fullest that you can with the circumstances. It may be starting a business plan, or setting boundaries. What would help you reach your North Star, that place of peace and tranquility on a regular basis? Let's draw up that plan, shall we? So, time to break out our hindrances, or not the hindrances, but I mean the opposite of those hindrances that you identified with in your life. Let's go to the second sheet of that workbook, and just talking about these things, these categories. Again, this is what helped me through the dark ages. It helped me in the past to face off with my hindrances of why I wasn't reaching a particular goal or didn't have time for myself. We covered the main hindrances a few slides ago. Now we are going to identify a goal, how to reduce the external stressors, confess and believe the opposite of those termite thoughts about ourselves, and put some form of physical activity on the menu, such as walking. During my walks, I was able to focus on my faith and prayer and meditation. And you may want to meditate on your business plan or something. So now in the third page of your workbook, let's fill in the blank with what you feel is a clear path to your North Star in that first box. If you could do that, please. And I will give you a moment. In that first box, put in a goal, a dream, an ambition. What is your North Star? It could be something, you've been thinking about this whole entire time. That North Star. Okay, so let's go to our second bullet. What new behavior or modification to your life that you see as a hindrance to you reaching that star? What type of stress levels, what type of behavior would bring down your stress levels? And it could be the same as, physical or exercise, even though we have a category for that. You can put it in both categories. Or it could be scheduling dedicated time to work on your goals or your business plan, or clean out that closet. What would help relieve the stress, or even cleaning off the desk so that you can sit there with peace of mind to work on your goals? It may be something as simply as that, finding a quiet place, having cooperation or input from your family, or a big one. Consider not sharing this goal with someone who has historically berated or criticized or chastised you consistently whenever you've shared other ideas and plans. Sometimes you've got to hold a treasure close to your heart until you bring it to fruition, and can show it, full blown, and it's a success. But if you know that someone constantly criticizes, and it's not that we are not open to constructive criticism, but that is different from just toxic feedback. It's just very different. And trust me, I have, if I could not transform, I eliminated those people quickly. So our third bullet, write down the positive opposite of negative thoughts that you had about yourself. I know that probably wasn't grammatically correct, but you get what I'm saying. Write down the opposite of the negative that you thought about yourself completing this goal previously. It could have been something like, I'm not smart. So now you're going to put something down the opposite of that. I am smart. I can do this. I'm very resourceful. I have the right connections, or I know how to put a marketing plan in order. Do something, say something positive and affirmative that would counterbalance any negative thoughts. And you can put more than one in there. And you can put down, I am going to complete my accomplishments. I'm going to complete this goal. And then just tentatively put down a date or a time down there that you're going to complete that goal. And all of this is tentative. This is your draft, because you'll be able to repeat this cycle when we are not on this webinar. Okay, so fourth bullet. Write down what physical activity will be added to your routine and its frequency. For example, I will walk 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, or I will ride my bike with the kids on Saturday, or I am going to join that bowling league. Quickly write down physical activity in that fourth box. All right, you guys have been great. So let's give you a round of applause for completing this step in your North Star self-action plan. Let's give yourself a round of applause.
There is so much in the chat. It's wonderful.
Okay. The hardest part of this process is taking an honest look at yourself. Like I said earlier, it's painful. I remember those moments. I made myself sit down and I said, no, write down what it is that you truly think about yourself. And it was ugly. But by me doing that, then I saw what I was working with, and I was able to counterbalance those things. So confessing those hidden things, those hidden termites that have really been eating away at your dreams and potential, then formulating a plan to overcome it is a win, win, win. What we just did seems simple, but it works. You are looking at the living proof in the pudding. I am a living example of how auditing your life in these areas can free you up to live a more fulfilling life. So moving forward out of this moment, for each goal on your journey, do this cycle, lather, rinse, repeat, for easier navigation to your North Star and your goals. So I'm just going to hurry up quickly so that we can get to Q&A. If you have any questions, or if Emily wants to read off some stuff in the chat, I really appreciate your participation. And how many people, Emily, do we have totally present with us today?
We have about 63 on our call here today.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you again, all 63, for joining us. So my story reloaded after I took myself through this process. Well, I learned to eat healthier, and I did watch my levels, exercise, proper rest, you guys. I know we burn the candle at both ends because we figure if we don't do it, nobody's going to get it done. But this is self-care, so please get the proper rest. At least 3 times a week, go to bed an hour earlier. if you can't do it every night, but find balance and find something fun to do. Do something where you're just off the grid, you're out of the matrix. One of my favorite things is online Scrabble. I am a beast at online Scrabble. I love it. Next thing for my story reloaded is I was very blessed that I finished my bachelor's, went on to my master's, and as you can see, I have finished my PhD. And that's a win-win. Okay, let the balloons go in the sky. But you know what was even a bigger win for me in this journey? This was an even bigger win for me in my journey. The moral of the story is it's never too early, never too late to raise your self-awareness and setting a different course to your North Star. I just wanted to say that first before I got into that picture. It's never too late. You can do it. So this picture means so much to me because this is the picture actually from when I finished my undergraduate degree. Those are my two daughters. And my daughter, the one with the natural afro type style, that's my oldest. And then the other one is my baby girl, but she would kill me if she heard me say baby. They are young ladies, but my oldest one just orchestrated, and I don't know how she did it. She was a college student, but she threw me a graduation party, and the room was full of my friends and family. And when they stood up there up front to speak on me, my oldest one said that, after all these years, my mom, she went back, she did it. She finished school, but this is the big win piece right here. She said, we watched her. And now that she's done that, we know that there is no excuse for us. We can do anything. When my daughter said that, I sat back in my chair at the graduation party, and that thing just resonated in my spirit. She said, me and my sister have no excuse. So I say that to you to say, you don't know who's watching you. Could be children, neighbors, coworkers. I know the struggle is hard. I know you're tired. I know you're exhausted, but you don't know who's watching you. And you are going to be the proof in the pudding that they can make it, that they can do anything. So I encourage you, continue to push. I know you're tired, but set aside some self-care that will give you more endurance for the journey. I want to thank everyone here for joining us today. There's my email address there on the screen, info@thehedgepethgroup.com. Feel free to contact me with any questions, any comments. And now, Emily, we are open for Q&A.
Oh my goodness, you made me all teary-eyed there at the end. What a great story. Thank you so much. While I share some, seriously, while I share some thoughts about what happened in the chat, please feel free to pop any questions you may have. Let's see here. So I have a couple. I have a question for you right off the bat here in the Q&A.
Okay.
First of all, you're fantastic, and thank you so much. And your presentation is amazing, like just very, very wonderful. So Nicolette asks, so many of us overgive to the point where we hurt ourselves. Sometimes that can be physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Despite the red flags and warning signs, why do you believe that we continue to neglect ourselves? Why is that something that happens?
Well, first of all, sometimes it's because of our perspective on our faith, because most faiths teach us to give. And I just think, though, as people, sometimes we can take that a wee bit out of balance because yes, give. I mean, there have been times I've given my last dollar. So let's add financial to that list of where we give. Last dollar, last ounce of sleep. But what I'm saying is if you don't stop for a moment or schedule regular moments to give back to yourself, you're going to, you know what? As a matter of fact, let me give you the example how I saw myself. Pretend this is a soap dish, one of those plastic soap dish. I saw I just saw myself as a dispenser. So if you have a soap dish and somebody says, oh, I need help. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't figure this out. Oh, I need you to come. Oh, I need you to go. And you're finally, then eventually the levels of energy and resources go down, and then you're empty, but you don't realize it. You don't realize it, but you're feeling it, because then your health is, you're starting to get, like I came up with, I didn't come up with, but it evolved into an autoimmune issue that is linked to stress for me. Remember, I did surgeries and medications and stuff, autoimmune, blood pressure out of the sky. I didn't know I was diabetic, and my glucose was 400. I went to the ER dizzy and about to faint, and I was like, what's going on? They were like, Miss Hedgepeth, how did you get here to the ER? I was like, I drove. And they were just standing, gawking at me in awe, like, you could be in a coma. Miss Hedgepeth, we have to admit you. And this, just the level of stress, you have to balance it out. It doesn't mean that you don't continue to do good works. Yes, please, because the world needs love, but find some love for yourself.
Thank you so much. A couple more questions have popped up, and I know we have a little bit more time. So let me see here. Beatrice asks, why is gratitude so important in the self-care journey?
So is that, I don't know if she means gratitude for of other people. So because I'll take it from that perspective.
Okay.
Unless you.
No, that's
okay.
good.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it from the perspective. Sometimes we drive and do because we appreciate and we feed off the gratitude of other people because it makes us feel good. It makes us feel good. But I would say, what's her name? Gertrude, was that?
I think it was Beatrice.
Beatrice, I'm sorry.
I believe.
But but I would say that all goes back to sometimes, not in its totality, but sometimes it could go back to our self-worth. That's when we feel worth something, when we make other people feel good. I was like that. But I still do things for people, but I've brought it back to a balance. I've kind of dialed it back, and I've learned how to say no on certain things, because you have to assess whether it's critical, the help they need, if it's critical or not. So sometimes it's linked to how we feel about ourselves, because we need that gratitude. We thrive off of it. We have an external locus of what drives us. But for right now, I'm asking you to please shift to an internal focus to where you might not need to feed off of that all the time. So you won't run to every 5-alarm fire, because every 5-alarm fire is not necessarily a 5-alarm fire. Assess it a little more and be able to say no when you really need time. Trust me, people will figure it out. Sometimes we handicap people from maturing. My oldest one said to me one time, she said, Mommy, stop fixing my problems. She was like, if you keep fixing my problems, I will never learn how to. That was a rude awakening for me, because all she had to do was say, boo, or I have a problem. I'm like, what is it? And then I'm running to fix it. She said, Mom, stop. And so she taught me, she was like, I have to set boundaries because you're way over here. You're fixing everything. She was like, I'll never learn to fix it if you don't stop. And then I looked at it, I was like, I'm going to apply that principle to grown people. And I'm going to stop fixing all their problems. So Beatrice, just take a second look at each situation and see if you really need to fix it. And if you don't, then that's time you can spend on fixing you.
And this is a great segue into this question. If we find ourselves sinking, how can we get out, recharge, as you mentioned, shake it up and rejuvenate again? What are some quick things that we can do to help get us out of that?
Yeah. One thing, I gave you those categories. So go through those categories on that North Star action plan. And the first thing, I had to get rid of stinking thinking. I had to stop bashing myself and thinking, oh, I can't do it, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough. Whatever it is your stinking thinking is, and I dug deep into my faith and praying and reading my word, and just asking God for help. Like I said, I made a list, and you all have my list. I made that list. And I listed what I felt was ugly about myself. What were my hindrances and roadblocks to completing certain tasks. I'm like, why can't I do it? Surely I have the intelligence to do it. But I was my own worst enemy. I was my own worst enemy. So then I looked at the horrible things I thought about myself, along with balancing out my life. It was a concerted effort on all fronts to go according to those four things. And then I started listing things positive about me. And whenever I would hear myself get ready to say something negative, I said, nope, I'm not doing it. It was really just that simple, folks. You have to change your programming. I said, nope, I'm not thinking that about myself. And then what I was going to think negative about myself, I made myself frame it in a positive manner. So then even when I heard my oldest one say something negative about herself, I said, excuse me, miss, can you reframe that in a positive manner? Because the power of life and death is right in your tongue. You're either killing yourself or you're helping yourself. So help yourself and say something positive about you.
Thank you so much. And this is someone just posted this. I thought this is a nice way to, if you find yourself thinking, to kind of check yourself. Cheryl posted in the Q&A a suggestion: maybe keep a note on your refrigerator, review yourself.
Excellent, Cheryl. Excellent, excellent. I am the sticky note queen, and I did that. I actually did that. I would put notes in the mirror, one on the refrigerator, one on my computer, and now I don't have all those notes there. But at a particular season in my life, I needed those notes to remind me.
Those reminders, yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting question I have here. I'm a very active person, where I can't stay still or in one place. However, I'm more of a visual learner, a kinesthetic learner, and then an audio learner after that. So they're ranking their learning skills. So do you think that we should, base our personal time on how we learn and find activities that match our learning preferences?
Yeah, I would say that would be number one. And then branch out to learning other methods of learning. I love mixing it all up, tossing it all up. Because I'm about 50%. I'm visual and I'm audible. So I can go either way. But when I felt myself in the early years being a little more to one side than the other, I was like, okay, good. So when I have a task, this is how I'm going to attack it first. So if you are an active learner, use active first, but then add tools to your tool bag, so that then you can even fit in other arenas. So find situations, maybe not something critical, but find something where you're going to challenge yourself to learn audibly. Just take audibly first. And the more you do that in your quiet time or whenever you have time, you'll get sharper at it and sharper at it and sharper at it. So I say yes. If you're right-handed, use your right hand first, but then in your off time, practice with your left hand and become ambidextrous.
I love that advice. That's great. I have this was in the chat and the Q&A, so I want to make sure I can ask it. Is self-mastery a lifelong journey?
It is. There are still things that I am overcoming because I won't let myself be complacent. So when I see a new challenge, I will not allow myself to say I can't do it. I'll just say to myself, and this is literally what I'll say, okay, chick, put it on the calendar, because I'll set time out. No, I don't know how to do this. Yes, it frustrates me, but I am going to overcome it. I am going to master this thing. I am going to work it out. And that's how you put tools in your tool bag. That's how you add to your core competencies, your skill. That's how you grow your skill set, is you face challenges head on. But just put it on your calendar.
Yeah, I like that idea of putting it on your calendar. That's what I have to do to remember to do things. And I think, just two things I want to make sure we're able to discuss before we end our time here today. One, in the PDF that we sent out to all of the registrants and attendees, that the first section that's not, that was the percentage point aspect. When people go back and reflect on that document, Do you want them to rank those 4 categories as out of a 100% scale?
Yes, that
Okay.
is on a 100% scale. And
Okay.
then once you feel that you've improved or you've gotten to the end of your accomplishment, then go back. Don't look at that first ranking, but go back and rank yourself again so that you can then look at both pie charts and say, I have improved. I really have improved. And then you might even want to take it a little further and say, I'm going to improve more. I'm going to improve even more. So yes, continue to use that pie chart, fill it in, and just because you may just say, you know what, I need to work on my relationship management. If that might have been, that was 58% for me, but that might have been 10% for someone else, because people get on your nerves, and I get it.
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And it's as you mentioned that, to revisit the pie chart, someone in the chat earlier said it fluctuates for me. So
Yeah.
I think that's also just that self-awareness too, where am I at right now?
Exactly.
And then just one more question in reference to self-esteem. As a student, we're provided feedback, and maybe we are in the process of trying to complete our degree, and our self-esteem may suffer throughout the process because we're getting feedback or we're getting no's or whatever it might be. What are some things that you can give as positive affirmations for why someone would want to continue their journey, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I will say to you, a no does not equal defeat. A no does not equal defeat. Okay, so expect no's. When I was working full time and I was in the PhD program full time. So I was just crazy out of my mind, exhausted. And then all the anxieties that were building up, like, who is my chair going to be? And oh my gosh, are they going to just send my stuff back 1,000 times, And at that particular time, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that this couple that, lived, that I knew, that they gave me. Both of them had their PhD for years. And one of them, he actually went into a mental hospital over the PhD process, and he had to go in and leave it. He had to leave the process for like 6 months till he got himself together. And his wife said, Samantha, I almost went crazy. But the bit of advice that he gave me that I, through my whole DIS course, was just submit. Just submit. Do your very best work, but just submit, because they're going to kick it back anyway. It's a part of the process. You have to go through, the rite of passage. Just submit. All of us have room to improve. So yes, sometimes you feel like, oh, I've done my best. It may be your best, but you may need some help with grammar. Therefore, it's coming across a little clunky. So I would say, for any feedback, I went through like a fine tooth comb on feedback from my dissertation chair. And if it was something I needed to research or something to do, I was willing to do it. And then I have been in Facebook in some support groups where, like, I saw one chair from one lady had sent it back 13 times. So now she was just asking for another chair. I don't suggest you do that. But I suggest you keep a strong pulse, do all that you can do, because a no does not mean defeat. A no doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong or it's wrong. It just means you may need a little bit of improvement, or they may just be testing your character. Either way, you come out the shining star that you are, because you got this. You can do it. I don't care how many walls it seems it can come down. Just keep pressing forward. You got this. Quitting is not an option.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that last piece. I think so many of us need to hear that. And I just want to thank all of our attendees for this amazing conversation in the chat. I'm going to send this to Dr. Hegspeth so she can look at it at a later time and review. And if there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me and I will reach out and see if she has some time to answer those questions. So Thank you so much for your knowledge and your presentation. We appreciate you so much, Dr. Hedgepeth, and very proud to call you an alumni here at NCU.
Yes, and just one more note to the people, because I am getting into doctoral coaching, executive coaching. I'm almost finished with my certification for that. So I do consulting and coaching, but you can reach me there at info@thehedgepethgroup.com. Thank you so much, Emily, for being such a gracious host.
Absolutely. And until the next time, have a great
Yes.
day, everyone.